I'm not going to review a 5-year-long record, but I will tell you what, commenters. I will listen to a 24-hour-long Bull of Heaven if we reach 20,000, okay? And I'll listen to their 6-month one if I get to 1 million. It's not gonna happen, so balls in your court if you want to torture me so bad, okay? Okay. Hello, everyone. And welcome back to another episode of The Worst Album Ever Made, a show where I'm on a quest to find out what is the worst album ever made. And guess what, guys? We did it! We did it! We finally did it! That's right, we have well over 20,000 subscribers here in our little cactus crew, which is wild. You know, for the majority of my channel's lifespan, I've been performing for an audience so small that all of my subscribers could comfortably be seated inside an average-sized Denny's. Which was fine. I never got into YouTube for fame or for money. I did it because I just liked making videos and exercising my free will for the world to see. Oh, and if I could just make a couple of people laugh during a brief moment of their day, well, to me, that just made the whole thing worthwhile. If I never gained more than 1,000 subscribers, I know I would still be right here in this chair making stupid videos for you all to watch to this day. But I'm so glad that you all have come along on this journey because you make this such more of an enjoyable experience for me. Well, usually. Maybe not so much today. Bull of Heaven's 2008 album entitled 028, Even to the Edge of Doom, is the topic of today's episode of WAME. And usually this is the part of the show where I come over here and tell you which patron decided to pay me money to torture myself for you on camera. But today's episode is going to be a little bit different because the only person I can blame for this review is me, myself, and I. On March 11th, 2023, during my review of the album called Ghost Passing, I discussed Bull of Heaven and their litany of long-ass albums, which have wild lengths that can span days, weeks, months, and even years to listen to. While no patron has been twisted enough to send me money to review an album that would take literal years off my life to cover, the YouTube comment section isn't as forgiving. I've been getting suggestions to cover their albums 210 and 310 ever since 2020, which have run times of 5 years and over a quintillion years, respectfully, which I'm just not going to do. Sorry! Believe it or not, there are actually some guidelines in place when it comes to suggestions I can accept for this show. Number 1, I can't review any album that's made independently by children. And number 2, the album can't literally kill me before I finish it. You see, I would love to review these two albums. I would love it so much, more than life itself. But the guidelines, you can't break the guidelines. Damn it! No! However, to appease those very specific sadists in the audience, I am going to be taking a look at Bull of Heaven's very first foray into album-length absurdity with their very first 24-hour-long record. Just consider this episode to be a warm-up before I would eventually have to listen to their 6-month-long record entitled 209, Blurred with Tears and Suffering Beyond Hope, which, if I reach 1 million subscribers, I'll have to find a way to somehow listen to and review that one. I'm probably getting worried over nothing. It's probably never going to happen. I'm probably fine. But just in case we have even to the edge of doom here, for us to dip our toes into this maddening warbling sound before I may potentially have to cannonball directly into it. But before we can start our 24-hour drone-a-thon, it's time to ask one very important question. Who is Bull of Heaven?
Bring me the head of Flavor Flav.
Bull of Heaven is a collaborative project that started in 2008, where two talented musicians, bassist Neil Keener and the late Chicago DJ Clayton Counts, came together to make a musical experience like no other. What they specialize in is ambient drone and immersive wild soundscapes that can range as small as a minute, or nothing in some cases. They have some albums I found out that have like no sound in it. This one's a calculator! Or as long as 5 years, as I've previously stated. Now, while Bull of Heaven may seem like this brooding, angsty group of hipsters to the untrained eye, they actually seem like down-to-earth guys who enjoy both making thought-provoking music and fucking with people in equal measure. For instance, Bull of Heaven has a feature on their website to where if you don't want to listen to the extremely long albums, again, we're talking years here, people, I can understand why you couldn't, Bull of Heaven thoughtfully curated excerpts on their website, so you can listen to that instead of wasting potentially weeks of your time to listen to it. But just know, there is a chance that these excerpts will be completely wrong. On purpose. As a prank on you for not putting in the time to listen to days, weeks, months, or even years worth of drone. To help explain why Bull of Heaven is like this, here is a clip from a Vice interview with the late Clayton Counts to show his side of why Bull of Heaven creates with these ridiculous lengths in mind.
Hey Clayton, let me just get straight to the point. Why are you guys doing this?
Neil and I both believe that absurdity is necessary in this world, especially in the arts. Music must confront. You don't necessarily have to listen to our music as long as its existence is acknowledged. There are too few bands that concern themselves with that. Almost everything is a copy of what has already been done. We are just trying to do something that hasn't been done before.
And so you start making songs that last for years?
The time aspect is only a small part of our work. It stems from our interest in mathematics and astronomy. We realized how small and insignificant we are. Man is just an unpredictably small particle in an ocean of repetitions. We try to emulate that ocean with these long pieces, but we also simply have songs with normal album lengths.
Clayton really hit the nail on the head here. Their music is similar to an ocean. What a great comparison. Because yeah, somehow these two people have made an album that is so incredibly long, we would all die before the album is even 1/10 of the way finished. I was never around when the first waves produced sound as they crashed onto our rocky shores for the first time, and I sure as hell will be dead in the ground when these waves finally stop producing sounds at all. Because the ocean's like this never-ending thing, and it will be continuing to produce sounds as long as someone has the ability to hear it. Much like Bull of Heaven's music is also this never-ending sound as long as someone has the means to play it. If I had like Jeff Bezos money, I think I would just like buy an island and make a new wonder of the world that just plays their longest album until the end of time. And maybe in like 10,000 years or so, the new inhabitants of this earth would be worshiping this music like it was some kind of old screeching god. Bull of Heaven has released hundreds of albums during their initial run, with numbers that would make Buckethead or even Viper take notice, especially with most of them sporting these really off-the-wall names and cover art like 316 near the trout hatchery at iDef, 207, I watched you enter your home from inside a dumpster, or 109, boxes of scorpions released by Tripwire. There are literally so many of these spanning from the funny to the dreadful to the brilliant. So much so, I know that there is a specific Bull of Heaven album for each individual on this planet. I feel so strongly about this that I spent hours of my day so you can figure out which Bull of Heaven album you are right now. I myself found out that I'm like a kind of like a 093, they found our footprints there kind of person. Well, like Glumburger on Patreon is like a 137, the meaning of hysterical systems, and that's just like so like them. If you want to find out your Bull of Heaven album, here's the QR code. Go have fun, you crazy kid. One of the unique challenges before you begin listening to this album all the way through is how much prep time you need to do before you do it. Much like going on vacation, you have to alert your friends and family that you are going to be completely unavailable before you start. You gotta keep your plans free. You gotta schedule everything around this album, lest you miss out on some Bull of Heaven action. So as I saw my subscriber count start to climb up higher and higher, I was starting to dread having to schedule around this behemoth of an album so I could listen to it in one long continuous take. But in November, turns out my prayers will be answered because my dumbass tore my right calf muscle and I was stuck in the house for 2.5 months. Perfect! The day before I did my continuous listen, I decided to prep all my food in advance. That way I didn't have to be away from the computer for an extended amount of time, because we wouldn't want that. I had some Bull to listen to, baby. I also went to bed early and woke up at 11 o'clock at night. That way I could start my listening experience in the wee hours of the morning. Okay, let's get started. The time is 3:42. Here we go. To record myself on this journey, I used the talents of my old school Memorex compact VHS-C video camera. Because one, I thought the dated visuals actually really lent itself to the music stylings that I've heard so far. And two, it's because I didn't own a webcam and I couldn't necessarily like drive to the store to get one now, could I? Also on this journey, I brought along my composition notebook so I could write down my thoughts as I went down this music excursion. And as we go through the album together, I'm going to share these thoughts with you, my friend, the viewer, when they become relevant. I finally hit play that chilly November night, and I was relieved and pleasantly surprised with what I heard. Much like all the albums I review, I try not to do any kind of research before my first listen. I don't know, I just think it's more exciting if I just go in blind and discover the whole album in real time. When I hit play, I found that the music of Even to the Edge of Doom to be so beautiful. Within 5 minutes, I had to stop and log in my feelings in this journal. What a beautifully sad, droning sound. Such a hauntingly pretty and atmospheric loop. I can't wait to see how this transforms from here. Then, 22 minutes and 47 seconds into the album, I wrote this. Oh my god, this loop is way too fucking short. Oh my god, I'm starting to get mad. So yeah, turns out the bulk of this album is an 8-second loop. And finding that out in real time, knowing that I couldn't stop listening for 23.5 hours, was not fun for me at all. In fact, it terrified me. Yeah, biting off a little bit more than I can chew is kind of a staple of this channel at this point. But if you didn't know, like, I listen to every album I review for this show 15 times before I can even start sitting in this chair to record these videos. So I essentially thought that I basically listened to 24 hours worth of music before any review anyway. But nope! El Duce, Slave to Thy Master. If you want to listen to that 15 times, it's going to take you around 7 hours. Village People's Renaissance. If you listen to that 15 times, that's going to run you another 7 hours. Crazy Frog, Crazy Hits, French version. If you want to listen to that, it takes just a little under 11 and a half hours. So if I combine the lengths of time it took me to listen to all of those albums for this show, it just barely covers the amount of runtime to listen to this album once. Jesus Christ, what have I gotten myself into? Look at this stack of albums I have right here. This is 24 hours worth of music I have in my hands, filled with many different artists, stories, emotions, styles, influences, eras, and instruments. Now you tell me, which one would you want to hear? Something that sounds like this? Or this? I'm not going to reveal my answer, but I sure as hell know what this guy's going to pick right now. Just 50 minutes into my listening experience, my mind started to wander and recall moments I haven't thought about in forever. Specific parts of my childhood where I felt left out and isolated during school events just came flooding back to me. It was like I could feel exactly how small and powerless I was back then, all over again sitting in that chair while listening to this. It's been so long since I felt that childlike feeling of restricted access. No car, no plans, no friends. Just me alone with this thing that I'm now forced to play with. Eventually, like Av, Ghost Passing, and Noise Embryo before us, there is a point where your body will just start to adjust to the poison that it's actively consuming, and time will start fading away like cheese in a fire. There's just only so long your brain can handle an 8-second loop before it's just going to start to tune it out and fade away in the background. The second, third, and fourth hours were actually a cakewalk compared to the first one. The first hour felt like 3 hours, and each subsequent hour felt like 45 minutes or so. But don't get me wrong, 45 minutes can still seem like a long time if it's still the same sound being played over and over and over again. By the fourth hour, I was pleading to the album for something, anything new to happen. Thankfully, my wait would soon be over. Just 5 hours and 45 minutes into the runtime, something surprisingly happened. Whoa! I know it seems a little bit silly for me to make this face of pure unbridled joy for something that sounds as comforting as swallowing an ice pick, but that's just how starved I was for mental stimulation. It didn't matter. Bull of Heaven could have decided instead to play the sounds of Mount Vesuvius destroying Pompeii, and I'd still be clapping my hands together like a toddler watching Bluey. It didn't matter. It was great because it was new. This is where the mind games really start to show in this footage. Because I was so happy that something new was happening, my mind just started to go off into all these new directions. Like, oh my god, are we finally finished with the loop? Oh, have we just started a new loop? What if the loop is now permanently changed forever? Oh, all of these great ideas popping into my head. And guess what? The answers to all those questions is no, no, and no. Because in about 10 minutes, it will be like it never even happened at all. I think this part of Even to the Edge of Doom gave my ass abandonment issues. While I appreciate the departure, they did not have to do that, so I very much appreciate it, because I was already 5 hours and 45 minutes into the runtime at this point, so they already got me. You didn't have to do that, Keener. Thank you. Its sudden departure, though, actually left me feeling worse than if it even showed up at all. Because now I know what kind of game we're playing. Eventually, it's gonna change again, and then they're going to take it away from me. And I just don't know if that change is gonna happen in the next 30 minutes or in 8 fucking hours. God! In that footage, you can see me putting all those pieces together, and now I'm thinking that this whole album is now one elaborate joke on me, the listener. The asshole who had nothing else to do that day but to listen to this album. For the start of the 6th hour, I wrote the following. I'm going stir crazy. That's all I wrote for the whole hour. But don't feel too bad for Depressy McGee over here, because he's going to discover another delightful change sooner than he thinks. It's just going to take another 3.5 hours, but when that's done, he's going to discover the best piece of music in this entire album. This whole album feels like it's been leading up to this specific moment in particular. And I am being 100% genuine when I say it is beautiful. It's hard to notice, especially on your first listen, but when you start up Even to the Edge of Doom, you actually aren't listening to the 8-second loop immediately. Instead, what you are listening to is this really sweet, uplifting, ethereal-sounding drone. And turns out that it's also a carbon copy of what you will hear again 9 hours and 30 minutes into its runtime. In the beginning, you're not paying attention, and when you're listening, you might enjoy it, but it's just flying right on by. But when you have been sitting in a chair for 9 hours and 30 minutes, it now becomes one of the greatest things you have ever heard in your life. But it was not this section of music that changed. It was me. It was me that did. It was my time, my patience, my struggle. That's what made it good. In my journal right here, I wrote that this was now my favorite piece of music I've listened to so far. And I had no idea it was the second time I heard it. Every time I hear this section of music, I want to cry tears of joy. And I seriously don't know is if it's because it's an actual piece of good music, like some of the best ambient drone I've ever heard, or is this just Stockholm Syndrome, and I'm just remembering one of the few times my captor treated me right. But with that being the main highlight of Even to the Edge of Doom, that does mean for the next 14 and a half hours, we're going to be experiencing some diminishing returns. At least Bull of Heaven still showed me a slight sliver of compassion, because there's still going to be some scraps of variety thrown in until we reach the inevitable conclusion. The next stop on our journey will only take about another 2.5 hours when we reach the halfway point, the 12-hour mark, people, and we're going to be rewarded with our patience with some waving, pulsing synths. This was interesting with the way the music's laid out. It's almost like the music is being played in reverse. And maybe it is, I'm not really sure. But I can't really describe just how disappointing this change in the music was. Because, unfortunately, we just can't enjoy it by itself. Because the 8-second loop is still here. It didn't go away this time. It's almost like the boys were thinking, well, he only waited 2.5 hours. I don't want to spoil the boy. Moments like these reinforce this idea that I am being made a fool of. And that is not a good feeling to have, but unfortunately for me, I can't even feel bad about it. The change is really nice. The change is really welcome. Thank you for the oats, farmers. It tastes better than my slop. Looking at myself in the video, you can just tell I am getting sadder and sadder with each change. And that's because they're ending quicker than the one that came before, which means that I'm getting less breaks for my constant hell. 2 hours and 40 minutes later, we get such a frustratingly subtle change, where the whole piece gets this warm bass that will just accompany the loop. I have loved every change we have received so far in this album's runtime. Yes, even the last one. But this one is so subtle, I had to check again to make sure I didn't just imagine this one or not. The addition of this bass does make the loop more approachable and comforting, but it's just so faint, it's barely there. It feels like the loving touch of my grandmother's ghost. But again, it's still a very welcoming change. And I know I shouldn't be looking a gift bull in the mouth. Again, they didn't have to give me any, but it's just a little hard to be kind of gung-ho about this when it took 2 hours and 40 minutes for me to experience the drone equivalent of a fighting game palette swap. I mean, I would have preferred if this is the loop we've had the entire time, but that's just like a personal preference. Don't mind me. This change is so subtle, I'm not really 100% sure where it stops and where it ends, but it definitely only lasts for about 5 or 6 minutes. Thankfully, after another 2.5 hours, we will see a more significant change in the runtime at the 17-hour mark. As I said in my journal, weird spacey vibe. It goes shallow and then it goes in deep. It's like it's flying away from me, encircling me, and trying to catch me. Sounds like a blast. My mental state was not okay at this point, and when I entered this new strange realm the music put me in, I entered a weird state of being comforted by another change in the music, but also being scared of what I was listening to. Pavlov just rang his bell and then fed me a big plate of tacks. My dumbass didn't even know what to think at this point. Like, I could feel my blood pressure start to rise, and with my newly acquired lack of sleep, it wasn't really helping things. It just felt like the music could just reach out from the computer and hurt me somehow. And I knew I was being silly. I knew I was going to be okay, but that didn't stop the room from filling up with this foreboding horror that never left my side. This section lasted 8 minutes, and it was from then on the audio hallucinations kicked in. When I read my journal entries past this point, it is clear that something is wrong with me, because I start hearing things in the music that just aren't there. Very slight change at 1744. It's starting to get to me. I'm getting really tired of this loop again. 1748? Did it change again? Or am I crazy? Sorry, bud, you're crazy. There's nothing there. If you go to that timestamp, you're not gonna find anything. For the life of me, I don't remember writing this in the journal. And I don't remember what I even heard. Your guess is as good as mine, people. That's not good. Hours and 45 minutes into the runtime, we will see our album's final big change. And it is return of the glorious motif that we listened to at the beginning of the album and once again at 9 hours and 30 minutes in. This time around, the music is more bittersweet and tragic than the first time we heard it. The thing that we said was our favorite part of the album, the thing that brought us so much joy, is now sucking all the joy right out of the room. That nice synth came back. Ah! It's so nice. I want this part to last the rest of the runtime, but I know it won't. I was so sad hearing it again for the last time, because I knew it was going to be taken away from me again. And Bull of Heaven was just being cruel letting me hear it one last time. Because why now? Why not wait until the last hour? Why 20 hours in? Why? It lasted for 8 minutes, and then I returned to my hell, sadder than when I was before. At this point, the audio hallucinations and my mental state are getting worse and worse, and my journal entries are really telling at the state I was in. At 23 hours and 10 minutes, I wrote, "There's like a deep SOS signal hidden in the track. Was that always there? It's like a whirly interference. There is no SOS signal. At 23 hours and 40 minutes in, I wrote, the ending to the loop is slightly different for a sec, and that deeper drone is back. God, I'm sweating. I'm just so ready for this to end. There is no change towards the end. It's just a straightforward shot for 3.5 hours. My mind was so tired and fried by the end that I was just looking for some kind of change, just to keep my mind from breaking. And this one really bothers me because unlike the last one, I remember hearing it. I remember writing it down, but then re-looking at the footage and realizing there was nothing there really put things in perspective of just how bad everything was. Thankfully though, like all things, my suffering too will soon come to an end. And eventually, I did it. I listened to all 24 hours of Bull of Heavens 028, even to the edge of doom. Silence for the first time today. Utter silence. Oh my God. Oh my God. Alright. I'm done. So yeah, that was Even to the Edge of Doom, and man did it throw my ass into the ringer. As of right now, I can't recommend this album to anybody, because even though there were some moments on here that really captivated me, the bulk of the entire album is just one fucking 8-second loop. It made me so frustrated, sad, sleep-deprived, and yes, even a little crazy. 028 took me into some very dark places, and if you look at any of these clips of me listening to this album, they look like screenshots for a game called Depression Simulator. As being a sort of amateur music reviewer, I would say this is one of the worst experiences I've ever had doing this job. It was just so terrible for me to listen to from start to finish. But what else did I expect? I didn't leave the house for 2 months! Bull of Heaven fans, it's now time to put down your pitchforks and torches. We're not done yet. I have made a huge mistake when it comes to my approach to this project because I decided to tackle it during a time where I was clearly depressed. I was not ready for this. I was still recovering from my leg injury that I talked about a little bit during my El Duce review. That wasn't a joke. That was real. Just days before I decided to cover this giant monster of sound, I just started physical therapy. I just got the ability to walk again. And for a huge run of my recovery time, I was locked in a wheelchair. When I said in my El Duce video that it took me an hour to get dressed, that was true. It also sometimes took me an hour just to go to the bathroom. And I decided not to even put on my boot during this 24-hour recording just because I didn't want a continuity error between me from the past and me in the future when I would eventually post this video on YouTube. But, hey, buddy, everyone can figure out there's a continuity error because of your long-ass hair and the glazed look of death in your eyes. Put on your boots! Around the 4-hour mark is when I had this awful realization that my mental and physical health has now jeopardized this album review. But even with that thought looming in my mind, I still continued to listen to all 24 hours because I already committed to staring at this image for 4. I couldn't get that time back. I had to keep going. And that's exactly why the demons infected my brain. Just because I never listened to Even to the Edge of Doom before I started recording, I did know it had a 3.7 on Rate Your Music and an 80% on Album of the Year. It shouldn't have been affecting me this badly. So I knew sitting in that chair ever since hour 4, I was going to have to listen to it for a second time. But I couldn't just try again the next day and the album just magically gets better for me, because I'll probably just end up with the same results, or maybe even a brain aneurysm. So while I was listening to the album for the first time, I hatched an idea. What if I were to cut up Even to the Edge of Doom into a more manageable size? Split the album up into 24-hour-long sessions and listen to that one by one, bit by bit, until I completed the album for a second time. But I still wasn't in the right state of mind, even if I was listening to Even to Edge of Doom only an hour a day. So for the second listen, I knew I had to do something different, and had to do something that could maybe remedy my fragile mental health in the process. Since my isolation to the outside world was preventing me from listening to the album on its own terms, my plan for the second listen is to get the album to let me experience as much of the outside world as possible. So, while I was sitting in that chair, listening to Bull of Heaven for the very first time, I made a list of 24 parameters to listen to all 24 hours of Even to the Edge of Doom. And this included places to go to, activities to do, and specific locations I wrote down just because I just needed a smile. So I gave myself a break, and I waited for my body to heal, and the moment that I was able to get behind the wheel again is the moment I decided to pick up the challenge of listen number 2. Going into listen number 2, I knew this was going to take a considerable amount of time to accomplish, but I knew that it was necessary for this review. If I can't stand listening to Even to the Edge of Doom in short bursts, how could I possibly consider this whole album to be good in any context? When walking away from listen number 1, it was truly one of the worst album listen-throughs I've ever experienced on this channel. And in listen number 2, we're going to see if those feelings were even justified at all. And if they are, well, we actually might have a contender for one of the worst albums ever made. For each hour in our new journey in our listening experience, I purchased this Sony Walkman CD player so I can listen to all 24 of my newly burnt CDs in style. I put all my 24 parameters into a big ol' wheel and randomized which hour I'll be listening to during each location and activity, even though I know they're going to sound pretty much exactly the same. And for each parameter, we're going to talk about each one as we go through this album a second time. Oh, and what the hell? We'll put all of the parameters into like a big old tier list so we can cover all of our bases here. So without further ado, let's see where we end up for hour number 1 of Even to the Edge of Doom 2. Hour 1, Lighthouse. Light to the Edge of House. The first stop in our second descent of Even to the Edge of Doom is the iconic Pensacola Lighthouse, one of only 29 lighthouses that are still standing in the state of Florida. And when I'm saying it's iconic, I'm not saying it's one of the oldest lighthouses or even one of the best lighthouses. What I'm obviously saying is this lighthouse was featured on an episode of Ghost Hunters.
On this episode of Ghost Hunters, Taps drives into Florida for an investigation of the Pensacola Lighthouse, and Britt hears the sound of the ghost with a lead foot.
I walked right by me.
That was right by you.
Right frickin' by me.
When I picked this place for the list, I thought that a potentially haunted place would be perfect to experience music that sounds like a dissociating ghost. Even to the Edge of Doom gives the lighthouse and its museum a superb, mysterious aura. It was almost like I could hear each decade of its history flow through this mighty sound. The lighthouse stands at 150 feet, and visitors have the opportunity to climb to the top to take in one amazing view, so me and my friend Sage took that opportunity and climbed right to the top. And while the weather did bring this amazing atmosphere to the party as we made our ascent, it did make the climb up pretty dangerous when it was already a little unsafe to begin with. Turns out that adding the dulcet, existential tones of Bull of Heaven while climbing up a steep, slippery spiral staircase will just make you feel like you're about to fall to your death at any moment. But nevertheless, I did find that I enjoyed my experience so much with the music and the lighthouse combined. I've been here at this lighthouse before when I was a teenager, and when comparing my last visit to this one, I think 028 definitely added something a little special to this trip. It could have been just adding a spooky atmosphere to a slightly spooky building, or the danger of walking up 150 feet with an ambient fall risk on my head. But whatever the case, this trip left a lasting positive impression on me, so I'm starting this whole thing off with an S tier, which is awesome. Man, if every single location we're going to go to is this elevated by the music, I think we're going to have a pretty easy second listen here, people. Color me excited. Okay, where are we going to end up for hour 2? Hour 2, War Fort. War to the Edge of Fort. Next stop in our musical adventure is Fort Morgan. This decommissioned fort was built after the War of 1812 and played a pivotal part of the Civil War during the Battle of Mobile Bay. Built using slave labor and defended by the Confederates, it is a physical reminder of the sins of Alabama's past, which continued existence reminds us of how we should shape our future. Fort Morgan is a beautiful complex that showcases the passage of time and how far we have come since the colonial days. The winding brick hallways that have aged like catacombs complement the darker, bleaker tones of the Loop, while the reclaimed nature all around the complex shows us a much lighter side to this story. The horrid acts of violence that took place on this land that played a part in killing 155 soldiers has stopped, and the world has been healing. Just got finished exploring the War Fort. I don't know. I feel like they should play this shit through the speakers because it was so appropriate. It was a haunting song, and it really showcased the beauty of nature reclaiming this place that was once built just for death and destruction. So it was great. It was great. If anyone in the audience has some kind of equivalent of a decommissioned war fort near you, I highly recommend you try this one out for yourself because I think it was a great addition to our music excursion. When I finally left Fort Morgan, I did so feeling relaxed, rejuvenated, and appreciative of all that there is in the world today, despite its many, many, many flaws. It was amazing, so it is an S. I think I enjoyed this more than the Pensacola Lighthouse. Hour 3, while antiquing. Even to the ant of teaking. Hope it's not getting old yet, people. There's going to be a lot more where that came from. Say, do you need a row of Waffle House cups? A giant shoe lamp? Timmy? Well, good news for you. You may find what you need and more at the Blue Moon Antique Mall. You know, this might seem surprising, but I don't go to lighthouses and war forts often. Shocking, I know. But you know where I do go often? Antique stores. They are one of my favorite places to go to because you never know what kind of treasure you're gonna walk away with or what kind of music you will find. Sometimes at a decent price, and sometimes with one of the worst prices you could possibly imagine. When I wrote this location down for my list during my first listen, truth be told, I did it just so I had an excuse to go back to the antique mall. Antiquing was one of the things I missed most during my injury, so this seemed like it would be a walk in the park. But man, this trip to Blue Moon definitely did not scratch that antiquing itch in my brain, because my ass was very uncomfortable listening to this album inside this cavalcade of hand-me-downs and knickknacks. This store, like most antique stores I go to, are cramped as hell, but that never really bothers me too much. I know it comes with the territory. However, on this trip though, it felt like the walls were closing in, and I kept getting turned around and disoriented, which that's never the case when I shop at stores like this. I was sweaty, I was nervous, and I felt like I was surrounded by angry ghosts. When I go to antique stores, I get the feeling like I'm rescuing items that have been abandoned by people or time. These places where I can take a brief look into hundreds of people's lives from the past and the present and take something home with me like an interactive museum. But when Even to the Edge of Doom is thrown into the mix, I had almost an existential breakdown where I realized that all of these items I was looking at belong to the dead. That is quite an experience listening to the album in there, because usually when I think of antique stores, I think of a lot of warmth, like, oh wow, these are like all of these things that were like once loved, and I can feel like the fact that all of these things were loved and now they're getting new life. So I always usually think of antique stores as like a happy place. Not while listening to this, it felt like I was in a graveyard, and I was very hyper aware of so many people dying for all these items to be in this store. And then I thought about my own death. And when I die, how many of my pictures of my loved ones and the things that bring me joy will be placed inside of a glass box and then given a monetary value? Wasn't a fun thought. Next time I find myself in a shop similar to Blue Moon, I will stop for a little bit and just think about just all the items that surround me. And that's pretty cool. I think it's cool that this completely unrelated piece of music can change my perspective on something that I do all the time. That's pretty awesome. Which is exactly why I'm going to give this one a C tier. Despite all of the craziness, it's still kind of cool in that regard. And speaking of cool, I got this Adamant vinyl from that thrift store. That's awesome. I love Adamant. Hour 4, with friends, even to the live of stream. For the 4th hour of our project, I really wanted to listen to 1 hour in a big group setting, and I decided this time around I was going to get out of my comfort zone a little bit and do something I never did before, which is a live stream. Live streams have always intimidated me. Like, for me and what I do, I like to have a lot of control in the videos that I make, and I just find that live streams are just a little too unpredictable for my liking. But I thought this would be a great opportunity for me to get out of my comfort zone a little bit and to give back to my patrons who have been so patient waiting for this video to come out. So I scheduled a live stream for the 24th of March where we would all listen to the 4th hour of Even to the Edge of Doom together and then have a brief discussion one-on-one about the hour, how to make us feel, how to make us think, and then we'll talk about Bull of Heaven in general. Now, when I say that this was my very first ever live stream, I mean it. That is exactly why I was a little unprepared beforehand, because you can't hear my audio at all in this recording of it. But thankfully, you can hear my patrons, and that's what this whole hour is about anyway. I've been talking to you enough already in this video. It's time for me to shut up and give the microphone to you, my wonderful audience. So let's see what everyone has to think about Bull of Heaven's Even to the Edge of Doom.
Hey everyone, it's very nice to speak up here. So the first thing I just wanted to say about the album is that it sounds both creepy and relaxing at the same time. Like, you know how something can be both creepy and relaxing, like in a weird way. Like this is kind of like that. One thing I noticed is that it kind of feels like I'm watching a found footage horror movie because it feels like the music is like creepy, so it's like background music to like a found footage horror movie, and it feels like I'm gonna watch something terrifying happen to Cactus Malpractice. Like a ghost comes in and kills him or kills you or something, and it's like, oh no.
Yeah, and I remember Jack Stubborn album called like Viator that had 35 songs, and I was like, alright, this has to be the album with the most songs in the whole world. I was in 6th grade, I did not know much about music. I found this Rate Your Music list, and apparently this mysterious band called Bull of Heaven had an album called like Aleph 11 or something, that had like millions of tracks, and I was like, that exists? Like, I haven't listened to much of it. I heard like 20 minutes of this earlier, and I just kept on hearing like different things. Like, it was the same loop, but just kept on hearing like different parts of it, if that makes sense. I remember they had an album that was just like an air conditioner. I forgot the number, I think it was like 201 or something.
I'd like to say this about Bull of Heaven because this is something I found with them. I feel Bull of Heaven are a really strangely personal band. I feel they're very reflective of how you go into them. Remember when I first listened to 105, which is only 3 hours, I was just sitting in my room. I had a pretty shit day, and I was just sitting in my room. I had it on full blast. And I feel it's like, it's that little stimulating that you kind of just make your own shit up about it. I feel the meaning is very personal. There's not really meaning, you kind of just describe it, I guess. Like, you listening to the Bull of Heaven track, the way you go into it and how you feel at the time is going to reflect how that sounds to you. But I feel it's like, that's very special about Bull of Heaven, and they're one of the only bands that I've found that with. Other drone artists, I've just like, I appreciate them, but Bull of Heaven just like, is really weirdly personal to me because they're very reflective, I feel.
But yeah, I will say that this is definitely beautiful in a very surreal, tranquil kind of way. I don't know if I would want to listen to 24 hours of it, but I was able to listen to the first 20 minutes. I actually started leaving around the same time you started taking calls. And let me just say that having poison pumped into your chest while listening to this for the first time is the most surreal experience I think I have ever endured.
The last patron you just listened to goes by the name Whatever We Want, who is currently battling esophageal cancer, who joined the live stream during one of his chemo treatments. Which is crazy. He has been dealing with this ever since December. What an awful Christmas present that must be for him and his family, who's just been trying their best to do whatever they can to scrape up the little money that they have to keep him going. I can't imagine going through what he is going through, but the fact that he was able to just join that live stream, to talk to all of us, to be in this video, is something that, like, I was blown away by. So I wanted to return the favor. I reached out to Whatever We Want, and he put together a GoFundMe page so we could post it in the video. It's all in his name. I'm never going to see a single cent of this money. It's all for him to pay for this cancer treatment because it has been such a hassle having to find a way to pay for all of this, which is necessary if he's going to keep going. Links in the description, QR codes on the screen if you want to help me in donating and supporting him during his struggle. But going back to the live stream, it was a cool experience. I'm still not really sold on doing live streams. I'm a very anxious man, but I did have fun, and this was a very memorable experience to be sure, which is exactly why I'm giving this thing an A. Hour 5, Art Museum. Art to the Edge of Fish. Okay. I think it's time we get our art on, everybody. One of the places I really wanted to go to for this music experiment was an art museum. I thought that an hour of Even to the Edge of Doom would really pull out some strong emotions when I looked at paintings that covered heavy themes like depression, abandonment, war, or discrimination. I just thought that an art museum would just match the tonal vibe of this music piece wonderfully. But unfortunately for us today, this art museum was stinky and smelled of fish. Okay, I just finished it. And this is not really so much of the music. I just thought this was a very sanitized art exhibit. It looked exactly how I thought it would, but man, I was shocked with how many art pieces were just picture of a fish, picture of a pelican, picture of the beach. I know I live in a coastal town, and I knew I was going to expect something, but man, $1,000 picture of a pelican. We have pelicans here. We can see that. I'm not the target audience here. But it wasn't all bad though. One artist I need to highlight is a glassblower named Steve Dark, who had some amazing pieces on display, which were called In Dolly's Dream and A Boy and His Octopus. And they both just blew me away. To be honest, I really just stared at these two pieces for the majority of the hour, because it's not like I had anything else to look at, really. Like, you see one picture of a fish, you're like, oh, cool, that's awesome, what a great fish. But when you look at your 350th picture of a fish, you're like, oh my god, what's with all the fish? I was the only one there. I was the only sole visitor there. And maybe they would have more going on if they had stuff that was more than just picture of fish. I saw so many fish in that building. I know it's more the museum's fault than the music's fault, or maybe it's even my fault for having such high expectations, but if I just wanted to look at stuff like fish in the ocean, I'd go to the fucking beach. Where it stands, I'm giving this whole experience a D, but I still think an art museum is a great idea. There's definitely some potential here. Try it out for yourself. Maybe you'll get lucky. I'm not an art critic. I'm a bad music reviewer. So let's move on to the next one. Hour 6, Casino. Casino to the Edge of Doom. Will Lady Luck be on our side for Parameter 6, everyone? Because we are hitting the town and going to the Hard Rock Casino in Biloxi, Mississippi. We are taking the lights, the sights, but never the sounds as we try to win it big with Bull of Heaven on our side. I love the Hard Rock casinos, even though I hate gambling and everything it stands for. But it costs nothing to look around at all the music memorabilia they have on display, like this guitar signed by Blind Melon, and this amazing prop from Pink Floyd's The Wall that was so cool to see. I imagine this is how it probably feels for most people to see the Mona Lisa at the Louvre, but like only if the Louvre was filled with crap tables and the smell of cheap cigarettes. One of the reasons why I even picked a casino at all for this list was I wanted to feel the disconnect between the happy, bright atmosphere of the casino mixed with the financial ruin that most of the tourists were putting themselves into. And what better way to experience that than to experience it firsthand? Now, I'm going to be real. This video was very expensive to make. And by the time I got to the casino, I had exactly $25 left in my bank account. In fact, I had to transfer $3.50, my last $3.50 from my savings to my checking, just so I can cover the fee at the ATM.
How are you feeling?
Poor.
I didn't see that. That was not in frame.
Poor.
What is even scarier about all this is the person in front of me in line at the ATM was basically doing the exact same thing. I couldn't get a more authentic experience if I tried. I knew going in I was most likely going to lose all of this money that I pulled out. But man, I wouldn't have complained if I won. I sat myself down at the coolest old school slot machine I could find and proceeded to lose all the money I currently had to my name. And that's how I discovered the fact that Even to the Edge of Doom is the perfect soundtrack to financial ruin. And while I was having a fun time wasting the literal last of my dollars, this wasn't my everyday. I knew that by tomorrow I was getting a payday and wasn't coming back here to gamble again. But to others, this is their life. And some of the people that were there, they look like they gambled all throughout the night. And if I put my headphones on those people to hear this music, I think their little heads would explode. Super surreal experience and very memorable, but not something I would recommend if you're actually going to the casino to gamble. But for those freaks in the audience who go to casinos to listen to ambient drone, oh buddy, this is a B. Hour 7, the beach. Beaching to the edge of doom. Alright, it is now time for me to hit the beach. Let's see how this one goes. The beach is usually packed full of people throughout the year, and the traffic is just as awful as the tourists. But luckily for me, I went during a warm coastal winter's day, which was great because now I can savor the atmosphere that's normally only reserved for subpar art museums. And with no crowd there was nary a beach umbrella or beer cooler in sight, which was great for me personally, but it probably wasn't the best for the second listen. And that's because I think the lack of tourists might be the specific reason why I had such a weird listening experience during this specific trip to the beach. This place seemed so alien to me. It was like I was on some surface of some strange planet, while the sandy beach felt like this endless desert that stretched on for infinity. And the dense winter fog took over my field of view, which made it feel like I was in some PS2 horror game with Bull of Heaven stepping in for the music department. All's which to say, the atmosphere was top-notch, but unfortunately, unlike the previous 6 entries, this one was pretty tedious, and I think the environment and lack of tourists is part of that reason. Some people might think that living into a fully realized Silent Hill but on the beach would be an exciting experience, but without those flesh-eating monsters just ripping you to shreds, is it really that exciting? You know, it's so crazy how just like a simple change to your daily soundtrack can really make you just like get transported into a different place altogether. Just like walking this beach in the winter with this Bull of Heaven song just blasting the whole time in my ears, I thought I was in a completely different world. This place seems so alien. After about 30 minutes, I had my fill, and I had a lot of time to kill, so I decided to try to make the album art out of sand. This is what it looks like. Do you like it? Be honest. Maybe if it was a busier day at the beach, it could have affected my experience with it, but as of now, with this experience, I'm gonna give this one a C. Mateys, it's hour 8, the arcade. Arcade to the edge of crazy. The 8th hour of our music escapade landed me at Captain Crazy's Paradise, who graciously allowed me to record at their amazing establishment. Now, they aren't sponsoring me or anything, but I think this place is pretty cool. You can pay by the hour and get unlimited access to all of their pinball machines, arcade games, imports, consoles, you name it. Some ranging from the wildly new to the wildly vintage. It's a cool place for sure. I'm a huge fan of what they do. I hope this is what the future looks like for modern arcades, because the focus is about the games and the fun. They're not trying to squeeze all the money out of you. But in regards to Bull of Heaven and even to the Edge of Doom in this place, oh, this wasn't a good idea at all. Listen, I'm not the Who's Tommy. If there's a pinball machine in front of me, I want to hear it. Same with Wii Sports and Taiko Drum Master. If I don't have the sounds blasting at me in all directions, I am missing out on so much that makes an arcade great. I should feel nauseated by the amount of audio stimuli careening at my head, or I'm not gonna feel like I went to an arcade now, would I? I mean, I should. I was playing arcade games there, but still. Just look at this video of me playing DDR to even to the Edge of Doom. That was torture! I highly recommend Captain Crazy's Paradise, but you can't do it while playing even to the Edge of Doom. These are both products that needs to be enjoyed separately, because I had a blast when my headphones were finally taken off my head. No shade to the arcade itself, but this one was an F tier, the first one of the group. Hour 9, restaurant, beer to the restaurant. Okay, I will admit that when I made my list of parameters, some of those places I put on that list, I did so because I just wanted to be funny, without thinking about the potential embarrassing ramifications that they would cause me later on. When I wrote this one down, I thought it would be really funny if I can just take in the food and the atmosphere at a place I've never been to before, but replace the usual restaurant ambiance of just like people eating, plates clattering, and the overhead speakers playing those white people anthems like Party in the USA and Come on Eileen. What if I replace all of that with just the sounds of this? I don't know, I just think that would be funny. My friend Sage really picked up the slack here when we went to Loda Beer Garden in Mobile, Alabama, because I didn't think of getting my order taken. I didn't think about getting asked by my waitress if I wanted anything, or how wearing my bright pink headphones in the restaurant made me seem a little out of place, and maybe even a little odd. To be honest, I was so nervous, I don't even remember what I ate really. I just know their broccoli was good. Yeah, I wouldn't do this one, folks. This is another F. Hour 10, the library. Lie to the bra of Airy. When listening to 028, even in my horrid mental state, I figured that this music would kick ass to read to. And what better way to find out than at my local library? Alright, it is library time, baby. We're gonna read! We're gonna read! I hardly ever find myself going to the library as an adult, and I actually was really excited to go back to these hallowed halls once again. This building was so necessary for my family growing up. We didn't really have internet when I was a kid, so going over here to the library was always a magical experience. And in fact, some of the earliest YouTube videos I ever made, I posted them and uploaded them at this library. And I'm sure the people around me weren't annoyed in the slightest. Anyway, today I returned with a new mission. I scoured the walls of text and found this book about Appalachian folklore and spent my next hour reading about the Wampus Cat, the Spearfinger, and the Smoke Wolf. Which one are you? Let me know in the comment section below. Okay, so my initial reaction is that this music, and it almost transforms the space, because listening to this made it feel like I was in a grand hall, like a grand, like a cathedral. The building felt so huge and ancient. And I went to the library as a kid a lot, and it never really felt like I was in like a hall of just like elders, and that like all of these people are just so learned, and all these people like working together. It felt so wholesome. It felt really pure. And just seeing all this stuff about like little ads for the other parts of the community, it was really cool. It was a really cool way to listen to it. And when that change happens on hour 10, where the music switches up, that hit me so hard this time. Maybe even harder than the other time, because of all of these emotions of going here as a kid, and when it hit, it really hit. I had to stop reading for a little bit because I was just like so in the moment. My hypothesis was correct. Even to the Edge of Doom is fantastic reading music. And just the moment you get that book in your hands and it starts to hook you in, that's when the music starts to fade away in the background. But it's not distracting at all. I think it actually adds to the experience, and that's why I'm going to be giving this thing an S tier. Go out and do this one, folks. Go support your local library. Hour 11, the movie theater. Sponge to the edge of pants. You know, you got free will. You know, you can just listen to the 11th hour of Bull of Heaven instead of actually listening to the movie you just paid for. That's what free will is all about, folks. This one's so freaking dumb. We all know I was not in the right headspace when I made this list. You know it. I know it. So cut me some slack here, because I was just trying to scrape away all the dopamine I could sum up in my brain. I thought it would be funny if I go to the movie theater, buy a ticket to the next available show, get in my seat, put my headphones on, and just listen to Even to the Edge of Doom for the entire runtime. And that's what I did. So I went to the counter by myself and asked the very nice lady at the ticket booth what was the next available show. And she said, the SpongeBob movie, In Search for SquarePants. Great! And as a man of my word, that's exactly what I saw. I got my popcorn, I got my large drink, I got my snow caps, because, you know, I was feeling a little wild that day. And I just watched the whole movie with no audio. Like a normal person would. But it's not so bad. No one's here, which I'm glad, because I think it would be sus for a man in the back of the movie theater to have headphones in, recording himself. The animation and plot seemed like it was going for an even younger audience than it was before in the first two movies, so that was disappointing. But coming from just a listening experience, the chairs were nice, the room was dark and cold, movie theater popcorn is always great, and I had something to look at, so it was an improvement over the first listen. If I watched literally any other movie like this, I would have been frustrated just like how I was at Captain Crazy's Paradise. And I'm not going to go ask them to put the closed captioning on the screen just because I'm making a YouTube video here. Figuring out what's going on, that's kind of essential for the movie-going experience, so I'm never going to do something like this again. This right here is a C. What a waste of a morning. Hour 12, aimless driving. Driving to the edge of car. Beep beep. Admittedly a bit boring to dedicate a whole section of this video to just driving around with no clear destination in mind, but you guys have no idea how much I miss driving around. You never know what you have until it's gone, folks, and I miss that freedom oh so much. So I just drove around a bunch of streets. Some I've been down before, and others I've never been to ever. I didn't care how far away I would end up going during this drive. I would just figure that out when the hour was over. Even to the Edge of Doom wasn't really distracting to the driving. I'm starting to think if you're doing anything that takes a lot of mental bandwidth, it will always just fade into the background and help you focus. But from the footage, I do think my driving was on point that day. At least I felt locked in. And if you disagree with my driving skills, that's okay, but I'm not taking any comments on it at this time, so you can just send those comments to the next review. I enjoyed my drive, but also I don't exactly think I was fully immersed in the experience. I didn't change my perspective on driving or anything. This didn't give me a new way to enjoy something I do every day. I just drove. I have so many playlists I could have listened to instead of this, and I know I would have enjoyed that so much more. You know what I'm never going to say, ever? You know what this road trip needs? An 8-second loop for the next 8 hours. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't have a good time. I thought it was just fine, and that's why I'm giving this thing a C. Right in the middle. Right where it belongs. Hour 13, Nature Trail. Nature to the edge of trail. I did not intend for driving and Nature Trail to be back-to-back, but man, now that it's here, it really showcases how depressed my ass was when I made this list. Garrett, you can choose a list of 24 amazing things for this video review. Let your heart be free. Choose where you want to go. I want to drive my car. I want to go outside. And go outside we did, my friends. One afternoon, my fiance, her dog Gracie, and I went and explored the great outdoors the way God intended with ambient drone. And it was really nice. I had a great time. As I said before, Even to the Edge of Doom helps you focus, and that doesn't just correlate to actual work. My ass was so enchanted by this nature trail, it was like I haven't seen a tree in the last 5 years. It was a real Jim Dandy, folks, and I don't go throwing that word out often. It was like somehow the music was speaking the forgotten language of the trees. It was like I was a Lorax in training. I couldn't speak for them yet, but if I kept listening, maybe I could know what they say. This one was filmed towards the beginning of my second listen, so maybe this was me being biased since I was tree deprived for so long, but this was great. I highly recommend this. If I'm going on a nature trail by myself, I will definitely consider listening to this album again. I am being honest when I say when you're on a hike, it sounds really awesome. Try this for yourself next time, people, and decide if the audio hallucinations never fully left my brain. Since I'm actually considering listening to this album again at this location, I think that means this is an automatic S tier. Go out and do this, people. Infect nature with drone. Hour 14, bowling alley. Bowling to the edge of alley. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to listen to Bowl of Heaven for an entire hour while bowling? No? Why not? My friends Tyler and Rowan graciously joined me on their Saturday afternoon to play a round of bowling with someone who couldn't hear a single word they had to say for a whole hour. This was another one that made me laugh on my list, but the funny ones have been getting more and more tedious as the months rolled on. But I made a promise to myself that I wouldn't make any alterations to the list, so here we go. Bowling time! Even to the Edge of Doom really didn't affect my game too much, but it was annoying having to work around hanging out time and listening to my album. Bowling Alley is just another place that loses its luster the moment you take away sound from the atmosphere. If I don't hear that satisfying clattering of pins after getting a strike, what's the point of bowling at all? Like, look at this strike. Look how disappointed I look afterwards. The magic's ruined. This one's a D. Hour 15 on the side of the road. Even to the side of road. Don't click off the video. Don't click off. Don't click off. Okay, this one might seem random, but man, I freaking love walking down the side of a road. I don't know why, but man, I love spending hours and hours of my day just walking the side of some freaking road. And many of the ideas I've had on this show happened when I was just walking by some fuck-ass highway somewhere, listening to the horrid albums that you all put me through. I don't know why I like it so much. Maybe I just like the feeling of progression I get from walking. You know, seeing the buildings and road signs get farther and farther away as I walk, or it could just be the joy of being outside, or maybe it's just a good way to showcase my free will. For today, I walked down this road, and I enjoyed walking down this road. I usually dance to music while I walk down the sides of roads like this one because you know of how cool I am, but it is nice to have a simple, less physically demanding walk where I could just enjoy myself, even to the Edge of Doom, and the scenery. Like these oysters! Where do you think these bad boys came from? Or this mysterious cube? Or the ship? Look at the ship! It's a ship! I would have done none of this if I didn't start this journey where I did. It's like the world just decided to give me a show, and it was glorious! Okay, I just finished Side of the Road. Another great one. Gave me the same vibes as the Nature Trail. Very calming, very peaceful. I love songs that make you just take a step back and notice stuff that is all around you all the time and you never get a chance to see it. Wonderful. Wonderful experience. That's all I got. That's all I got. Was it the fact that I could finally walk down the side of the road again after so long? Or was it because the music truly elevated the experience? I don't know. I don't care. This was an A. Hour 16 at the gym. When I don't have time to spend half the day walking on the side of the road, I spend a quarter of that time at the gym. And I'm gonna say, don't do this one. This one was awful. I felt nauseous while doing it for some reason. People don't like recording you at the gym. It was an F. Moving on. Fuck you. Hour 17 in the dark. Even to the edge of dark. Reading comments on YouTube, Rate Your Music an Album of the Year, revealed that a lot of people like to listen to this album while they sleep, like some weird impaled head white noise machine. Yes, absolutely, I agree. It felt like I was putting myself through constant torment trying to stay awake to this thing, because this album sounds like the equivalent of free basing melatonin and warm milk. So I knew I wanted to do something similar to sleeping this hour without sleeping at all, because I really felt like it would be unfair if I just slept through this whole hour altogether. Really wouldn't feel like I was really listening to it, would it? I settled on laying in bed with a blindfold on. I want the record to show I'm not going to sleep. I'm just going to be listening to this for an hour. Just staring at this blindfold. That's all I'm doing. Okay, maybe not the most exciting of all the hours, but at least this one was a pretty pleasant experience for me. Wow. Whoa. Oh. This one was a pleasant surprise, because like when you're doing the blindfold and you're just listening, it's very meditative. My brain was going off in all sorts of directions and stuff. And that was rather pleasant. I can see why people sleep to this. It was really hard to keep myself awake. But then, hour 17 is one of those surprising hours where all hell breaks loose and something different happens. And this one was absolutely fucking terrifying. So right now, if you're going to listen to any hour, listen to hour 17. It takes you for a ride. It ends in a satisfying way. It ends better than the actual album ends to me. Out of like any other, it feels like I fucking time traveled. I thought I was only in there for like 20 minutes, and then it was over, and then I'm like, it's been an hour. I know that's obvious, but like it feels crazy to me. I thought I was going to be in there for way longer than that. If I allowed myself to sleep, I know this would be a higher tier, but with this experiment in the dark, I'm giving this one a B. That's still pretty good. Hour 18, Walmart. Yeah, I'm doing this one, even to the wall of Mart. Now, I didn't write Walmart down as some kind of elaborate reference to the Most Unwanted song, but rest assured, I did listen to it before going in. I just thought Even to the Edge of Doom would be a great soundtrack for whenever you want to stop and think about the world around you. And Walmart, for better or worse, is a great reflection of the world of today. Back in the mid-2000s, you could waltz right in and buy Zupal plates. Now, today, you can go in and buy Mr. Beast chocolate. This is the state of our culture. Since I'm a glutton for pain, I thought what better time of year than to record a YouTube video at Walmart than 8 days before Christmas Eve. I'm a freaking genius, dude. Okay, we're at Walmart, and we are about to crack open a nice cold 18th hour of this freaking album. I got a list. It's almost Christmas. It's 8 days till Christmas, so it's probably going to be packed. So let's see how this is going to change my Walmart experience. The place was so packed, you have no idea. Well, maybe you do. It was near Christmas after all. Garrett. I didn't want to film a bunch of strangers, but just trust me, it was wall-to-wall people inside this wall-to-wall mart. One of the things I can't stand is an overcrowded convenience store. I get anxious and sweaty. And to add even to the edge of doom to the mix, it brought me to the brink of having a panic attack. That wasn't a joke. With Walmart, you can kind of like, it really transforms the store into like this Dark Souls experience. It's very freaky. Like, you can just kind of feel a lot of stress from everyone in that building. It's because like Christmas is nearby, and it looked like a lot of people were not happy to be there. It's the exact opposite vibe that I had when I went to the library, where the library felt like more tranquil and huge and grandiose because of the soundtrack. This soundtrack made me feel very claustrophobic. It made my heart race a little bit. It was not a pleasant experience shopping at Walmart with this in my ears. And with my bright pink and purple like headphones, also everyone was just staring at me, which is fine, whatever, but that also didn't really help with my little panic attack I was having in the store, because I'm really uncomfortable listening to what I'm listening to, and everyone keeps looking at me, staring at me, and my very bright, noticeable headphones. Even if I wasn't filming like literally right before Christmas, I still think I would have hated this no matter the time of year I did it. And that's why this one's an F. I hated it. Hour 19 in amusement park. Para to the dice of Pier. Oh, I hope you're ready for some fun and excitement, boys and ghouls, because today we're going to an amusement park. And an amusement park that only YouTubers like myself can frolic and film into our heart's content. And that is going to be Paradise Pier Fun Park, also located in Biloxi, Mississippi. If any of you in my audience were going to think for a second that I was going to say Universal Studios or Disney World, you clearly weren't paying attention during the casino portion of this video. Paradise Pier is a rooftop amusement park located directly beside a Margaritaville resort and an impressively sized indoor arcade, which Paradise Pier's website boldly claims is the largest in the country. I'm not going to argue with that claim because I could get sued for that. But if I'm going by my general enjoyment of which arcade I like best, this one or Captain Crazy's, I got more bang for my buck at Captain Crazy's Paradise, and that's only like 1/3 of this location. But we're not about the arcade games here, people. We're about the rides, the sights, the mascot. Look at him. It's E-Word. You like E-Word? E-Word! Now, taking your Sony Walkman and your headphones to any amusement park ride, you will rightfully be told to take them off before entering the ride area. You don't want to kill someone unexpectedly like Fabio did to that goose, but there is one place where you can thankfully sit back and enjoy your hour of Bull of Heaven, and that is at the Paradise Pier's icon, the Biloxi Tide Turner, a stunning air-conditioned Ferris wheel that wonderfully decorates the Biloxi skyline. Great view and great Ferris wheel. George Washington Gale Ferris Jr. would be ever so proud. His creation would end up being in this amazing place within mere walking distance of E-Word the Pelican. When it comes to the 19th hour, when I was on that Ferris wheel, on the Tide Turner, just swinging around, listening to this drone, I had a blast, especially while I was thinking about how weird it is to be a YouTuber. But when I was literally anywhere else on this property, I was not having as good of a time. My ears were getting some serious FOMO. It didn't really feel like I was getting the full money's worth here. I couldn't hear the carousel, I couldn't hear the people screaming, and that wasn't that great. A novel experience for sure, but nothing I would recommend. It's another C. Hour 20, a large city. City to the edge of large, Christ. You can probably tell at this point in the video that I've been a little sneaky and strategic about which hour I covered on which day, because I try to stack multiple ones in the same location, which is exactly why today's large city is going to be Mobile, Alabama. Hey, none of that. No, this city invented Mardi Gras, damn it. Put some respect on the name. Come on, I just want to be where the leprechauns are. Is that so wrong? Am I wrong for that? Also had to go anyway. My friends After Dusk were playing a show there, okay? And they kicked ass. All that matters is I got to see some skyscrapers and some frickers in suits looking like they were running late to their office job while me and Sage were just signing dirty ASL to each other. And isn't that what America is all about? You can put that in any major city. You got the full experience. Ironically, the same feeling I had during my walk on the nature trail correlates with my feeling of walking within this big city. Even to the Edge of Doom, it turns out it's just this great sound that you can just get lost and explore with. And it's fun looking at weird buildings while hearing this loop, to turn the corner on some weird city block and anticipate what you're going to see next. The album in some weird way acts like a buff to your Wanderlust stat, and in a way it really helped me see this city, one that I've been to a handful of times, like it was the first time I've ever even saw it. The buildings felt bigger, the city felt more livelier, and overall it was a good experience that earned this place an A. Hour 21, a town I've never been, even to the strange of town. Even to the Edge of Doom gives off this strange, weary vibe when I listen to it, but most importantly, it gives off this foreboding feeling of powerlessness. And that feels even ever more present when you've been sitting in a chair listening to an 8-second loop for 10 hours. And what better way to replicate that powerlessness in the real world than to travel hours and hours away to a place you have never been before and you know next to nothing about. It took some time to figure out exactly where I wanted to get lost in until I settled on the far-off city known as Navarre, Florida. 100%. The only reason I picked this city was because I thought the name was funny. I knew nothing about it when I got into my car and started driving, and that is a kind of anxious experience because I didn't know if I was even going to have any content to share with you if I got there. The only thing I knew for certain is if you look up directions to Navarre, Florida, it's going to take you to a CVS. Doesn't really instill confidence in this town. But thankfully, when I parked at that CVS and started walking around, I found Navarre, Florida to be quite delightful. Welcome to Navarre, Florida. Navarre is a beachside town with a population somewhat of around 43,000 people. Very touristy, with several small cute beachy shops and food stalls dotting the sides of this one busy highway. Even though Navarre didn't seem to be a sidewalk-friendly place, I will say when I was walking in a ditch on the side of the road, I saw a lot of community on display in this seaside town. Walking around a place you've never seen before, it gives you that feeling of playing an open-world video game. And this sticker I found for a band I'd never heard of called No Culture just became a new side quest for me. Apparently, No Culture is a local band from Coleman, Alabama, and I've been thoroughly enjoying listening to their music during the process of making this video. So much so, I got their 2025 album, Blue Beyond Heaven, and when I got this cassette, look what it came with! It's the sticker! Yes! Mission accomplished! I have one now. If I was going to recommend tracks from this album, maybe Trauma Queen or maybe Shithouse Rat. Shithouse Rat's my favorite. And what's so cool about No Culture is I would have never found them at all if it wasn't for me walking down this street in this city because of this list for this album that I would have never had to listen to at all if it wasn't for people like you supporting my channel. So, in a way, this is all of our Shithouse Rat. Even to the Edge of Doom has once again been a great companion to discover this great little city. And I think because of everything was so fresh and new for me, it made this place just a little bit more special to explore than the much larger city of Mobile. And that's exactly why I'm giving Navarre, Florida an S. Hour 22, my childhood home. Even to the edge of home. Going from a place I've never been to the place I grew up, here is my childhood home. Longtime viewers might see a disconnect from how things used to look like in my previous videos to this place, and that's because I used to live on a trailer on the same property, but rest assured, these are the same trees that remembered when I looked like this every day. It is a weird feeling to stop and look back at how much time has passed since back then, and how uncertain my future was on this channel when I started looking into Trout Mask Replica in the first place. I have learned so much since I lived in this little room, and way more since I was doing everything in my bedroom back in that old beat-up trailer. Even to the Edge of Doom really made me feel pretty melancholic walking around my parents' place. I thought of all those I lost along the way, the long walks I would take down the side of this specific road after school every day to record some of my very first live-action videos for YouTube. The music did make me feel a little emotional looking back on it all. It's cool to look back and see how far you've come. When I was sitting in this room dreaming about making videos, I would have never thought I would ever have the amazing friends and community that this channel has helped bring into my life. And I'm truly grateful that you have all allowed me to keep creating for you for so long. Thank you. But my mom cat scratched me while filming, so I'm giving this thing an A. By the way, if you're trying to do a listen along with me, don't do this one at my parents' house. My dad owns a gun. Do this at your own parents' house, or if you don't have that opportunity, just put some of these pictures of me on your wall, and maybe that will give you the same effect. Hour 23, Dead Mall. Even to the dead of Mall. Now, this one, a lot of my footage got corrupted, so I might be using a lot of pictures to substitute for them, and for that, I am sorry. I am sorry. I never said I was a good at this. Malls are unfortunately a dying breed, and what used to be these great places to bring people together are now becoming relics of a bygone era. When I heard Even to the Edge of Doom for the first time, I knew I had to go to a dead mall. Because if I could somehow listen to the thoughts of a dead mall, they would probably sound something like this album. Just aimless and sad, calling out for something it can't even describe at the brink of death. And that's exactly how I ended up here at Auburn Mall in Auburn, Alabama. I got here right when the doors opened, and this place was a ghost town. Online, it said that the shops opened at 10, which was far from the truth. The shops opened whenever they felt like it, so I never knew if a shop was just opening up late or if it was actually closed down. Inside the mall, the management really knows how to hide how barren this place actually is, but I did a lap of the outside of the property, and many windows I looked into showed off barricaded rooms filled with mannequins and store displays, which accompanied my Bull of Heaven as well as cheese and wine. Back inside, I went to a place called B. Turner's and found a Pink Floyd shirt for pretty cheap that I actually really liked, and then I went to another store called The Maker and the Merchant, which was really cool and by far the best thing about the whole mall. Think of Maker and the Merchant like some kind of farmer's market just without the produce. It had a lot of crafts, curated collections, and local shops, all within one appealing store where I bought some locally sourced tea and a tiger sticker. I was in Auburn after all. Tigers are kind of a big deal up there. I think it has something to do with their local tennis team. It was a little sad walk and a little sad mall, which made me pretty happy, actually. This one gets a B. It was perfect, spot on. Hour 24, oh my god, it's done. On a boat, even to the boat of doom. To celebrate finally reaching the end of my second listen, we're gonna do it in style because fate has decided we're going to ride the Marissa May Nicole ferry. Let's go! Now this beautiful ferry takes cars to and from a little island off the coast of Alabama called Dolphin Island, but passengers can come along too. It's a 30-minute trip to cross the bay and 30 minutes to come back, which was perfect for me. So instead of enjoying the wonderful amenities that Dolphin Island has to offer, I won't. Yeah, I just stayed there on the boat. No one stopped me. This was by far the best one, people. Like we said before, Bull of Heaven founder Clayton Counts compared their music to an ocean, which I was now currently on top of. The gentle rock back and forth of the ferry was in sync with 028's loop, and the ferry itself was also super loud, but paired just as well to the established piece. It was just a perfect trio. The ocean, the ferry, and the sound, and I was fully absorbed in the moment. I was so happy. When looking out at the water that just seems to go forever and ever like the piece I was reviewing, and seeing the sun reflect down at said water and breathing in that salty air, it just felt right. Mentally, I was flying with those seagulls who were trying to chase down that boat. On the second ferry trip back, I noticed something in the distance that really took this second trip full circle. Because out in the distance from me and my ferry was, guess what? Another Florida lighthouse. You couldn't plan it, folks. You couldn't plan it. It was almost like fate that the first location would take me to the shore and my last location would return to it. Awesome. When I touched back down onto solid ground, my many-month journey was finally over. I had now listened to Even to the Edge of Doom for a second time. And it was great! I can't state enough how much joy this album has given me for the second listen. And I don't know what part of me was missing when I listened to it for the first time, but clearly I have found it. There is a lot of good here. My tier list should make it clear to you how much good I saw in this album. And if you went to any of these locations to listen to it for yourself, you would probably enjoy it too. And thinking back to the end of my second listen, I was so happy, also because of the fact that I ended the album feeling so good when the first listen, when I finished that album, I was so frustrated and angry. And now I've had the complete opposite experience, and that's so cool. But my happiness was not from that alone, though, because I knew I was finally done with 028, Even to the Edge of Doom. And now I could finally get back into this room, get in this chair, and share my findings with you beautiful people after literal months of work. But could you really consider me listening through an album if it took me months to get through it? Sure, I could theoretically listen to No Culture's Blue Beyond Heaven a track a month until I finally finished it, but I think we both know that that's not really listening to the album. That's just listening to a bunch of No Culture tracks with a weird arbitrary rule attached to it. And in hindsight, looking back at the second listen, you could say, well, Garrett, of course you would like the second listen more, because it's a lot easier to ignore something if you're playing the slots while listening to it, or you're on a goddamn Ferris wheel. I don't want to go through all of this effort that took me half a year to do if it was going to look like I half-assed this thing. So I know what I had to do. I had to listen to it again from start to finish. And that's exactly what I did. All right, let's go. It's time for another 24 hours of this freaking album. Okay, another one, last one, and then we're done, folks. 24 hours straight of even more Bull of Heaven, Even to the Edge of Doom. Will experiencing months worth of life be enough for me to handle this? And now, well, I guess we'll find out. It's time for listen number 3. And you know what? It was easy! The album is fine. It is just fine. I did a lot of research on Bull of Heaven for this script. I wrote some of this script for this one. And it was a fine experience. It was barely an inconvenience. I learned how to live with the loop like it was a companion in a video game. And also, guess what? Those big moments from the first listen, they still gave me that satisfying rush as they did before. But now, my expectations were correctly set. I wasn't expecting more from this anymore. I was now finally accepting Even to the Edge of Doom on its own merit. It is so easy to write something off as bad simply because it is different. And it takes so much effort to learn how to break that stigma. People mock Bull of Heaven for having some extremely long albums. Hell, my ass has even done that a couple of times. But then again, my ass also thought 8 hours used to be a long album. What a fool I was back then! Here's a message to the future music YouTubers out there who will want to talk about Bull of Heaven in the future, but all they'll do is just list all of their long albums. Guess what? There are people out there that are more hardcore than me and you will ever be. Look at all these reviews about people who've reviewed one of their week-long records. Yes, a week. Yes, reviews as in plural. And look at this one. This one is from one that was 2 months long. Look, he even liked it. That is amazing dedication during the time of where the algorithm rules all, where companies are trying to find a way to shove the quickest and easiest slop down our throats. Music reviewers have to constantly compete and rush out a review so they can get it finished and finalized before someone else can steal their ad revenue. And then you go out and then you see people like this who see so much value in this music, and they go out on these music websites and then they post their review for free. Length be damned. God, that is so refreshing. Well, now that I'm finished with the third listen, I think I got all the ammunition I need. Let's go see if this thing is truly the worst album ever made or not. Okay, once more, but for real this time. Does Bull of Heaven 028, Even to the Edge of Doom, belong on the board of shame here? No. No, it doesn't. I actually now think the music of Even to the Edge of Doom is quite pleasant, especially in short bursts. And if I ever think that I'm having some trouble sleeping and that white noise machine isn't working, I might just throw on Even to the Edge of Doom to help me relax and maybe fall asleep. Next time I go on a nature walk, I might throw this one on and listen to it again for maybe 30 or 45 minutes. That sounds pretty nice to do again. Now, when I listen to Even to the Edge of Doom, am I going to be listening to all 24 hours of it? No, I'm not. But that's okay. Sometimes you just want to listen to Shithouse Rat and not the entire No Culture album. And that's okay. That's okay. But that does not discredit the full 24-hour-long listen, because this album took me to places that music has never taken me before, and I'm not talking about Paradise Pier. That specific rush you feel when you listen to 5 hours and 45 minutes and 9 hours and 30 minutes, those two specific pieces of music is something that's going to be burned in my mind forever. These two pieces brought me so much joy, and that joy can only be given to you when you sit and you listen to all of it. So yeah, I can just go in here and just say, yeah, you can listen to some Bull of Heaven and you'll probably have a good time on a nature trail, but you aren't going to get that specific feeling unless you put in the work. On my first listen, even with how bad it was for me mentally, each single varied note I listened to so passionately because I didn't know if it was going to be the last one I was going to hear for the rest of the runtime. And you only get that experience from a piece of music like this. I've never listened to music so intensely before. You just can't get that from any other album. This one's special. At least that's what I think. So yeah, thank you for watching another episode of The Worst Album Ever Made. Thank you for your patience. I know this one has taken half a year to come out. Sorry. I had a lot of healing to do and a lot of places to be to make this thing. Well, when I sat and wrote that list out, I didn't think it was gonna take like 5 months to do. But 24 locations, and the majority of them I could only do one time a week because I still had a job and I have money to earn back since I wasn't working for months. It added up a lot of time. I'm back. Hopefully the next one doesn't take me so freaking long. But no promises. I don't know what the next thing I'm doing yet. If you made it this far in the video, you can check out my Patreon, where I can give you some sneak peeks to some upcoming events. That Bull of Heaven quiz, they already took it weeks ago, because they're cool like that. But also, if you don't want to hand money to me, hand money to whatever he wants. Go fund his freaking cancer treatment. That'd be nice. I'd appreciate that. Anyway, that's this episode. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.
Do you ever feel like you were 12 feet tall? Well, buddy, go ahead and ram your head against the wall. Have you ran from all your doubts till you begin to crawl? Then stand back up and run until you ram against the wall. I don't know where I'm going, but I know where I have been. The odds are stacked against me, and I don't know if I can win. Has Lady Luck got you by the throat, and her cheat-tatted love is making you choke? Do you feel like you're stained? Your mind's rearranged from a poisonous rust from another's brain. You broken little heartless, you sad, pulsing sore. That's what we call triumph. It's what this life is for. I don't know where I'm going, but I know where I have been. The odds are stacked against me, and I don't know if I can win. Do you ever feel like you were 12 feet tall? Nobody, go ahead and ram your head against the wall. Have you ran from all your doubts till you begin to crawl? And stand back up and run until you ram against the wall.
That's it. It's time to spin the wheel of blame! Usually I wait until I've finished recording everything and I do this as a celebration, but I'm so fucking excited to spin this goddamn thing again. Alright. Let's do it! Spinning now! Alright! Next time we're doing Bone Up by Yip Yip. All I know is what the cover looks like. That's what it looks like! I hope that fucking ventriloquist dummy has some good bars. Bone Up by Yip Yip! Let's get this shit finished with. Not today, Ice JJ Fish! Not today!